Thanks for joining us. My name is Autumn Sullivan. I'm the marketing manager at Mobilization Funding. And with me today is Scott Pieper, the CEO of Mobilization Funding. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Autumn. Good afternoon.
How's it going?
It is great. Today is Thursday, and we're almost on our way to the end of the week, and we have a good weekend planned. So looking forward to getting it.
I hear that. So today I wanted to talk to you about our newsletter because I think it's such a cool value add to being part of our audience, part of our family, as we say. So if you're not familiar with our newsletter, I highly recommend that you subscribe. I will put a link in the description for this video. Every 2 weeks-ish, we publish a letter from Scott and then our best content and some content from our partners. This week's newsletter was titled Mirror, and it was talking about taking accountability for making changes that you want to see in your life or in your business or in the world. It was very well received, which is always exciting for a marketing manager to see. So I wanted to ask you where you got the idea for it.
Well, right now, there's a lot of going on out here in the world. We're coming off of the coronavirus, or some people were still right in the middle of it, depending on where you are in the country. We had a lot of other social issues going on and riots and protests, some peaceful, some not. And, you know, you're listening to the news, reading the paper, talking to your customers, talking to your clients, talking to your friends, reading text messages, all of it. And, you know, you always want to think, or at least I always try to think about what can I be doing differently, or am I doing the right things? Am I just going through a point of self-reflection? And I tend to look in the mirror when I'm doing that, because I believe every answer, or at least 95+% of the answers to your problems, are usually sitting right there in your own head. And sometimes it's hard to look at yourself without really looking at yourself. So I tend to look in the mirror, and while I'm brushing my teeth or getting ready in the morning, and you really ask yourself those questions, like, what can I be doing different? And then those are the times where I try to be the most honest with myself and black out the noise and just say, like, what could you be doing better? What aren't you doing? What are the things you're avoiding doing that you should be doing? And going through that point of self-reflection, I just realized that, you know, this is a good exercise that might be something to share. Well, the mirror point came up just because I happen to be in the mirror. That's the easiest way to look at yourself. Of course, you can use your phone and do the old reverse camera thing that people tend to do. But at the end of the day, you're staring in the mirror, you're staring at yourself. If you look past just the reflection in the mirror and really think through who you're choosing to be around, what things you're choosing to say, what are you doing with your time, and how are those impacting the things that you really want in life or in your relationships or in your family, then you can find plenty of wasted time and plenty of wasted exercises, wasted energy in that mirror that you can allocate better to what you really want to accomplish. And, you know, we've accomplished a lot of things here, but we're not even close to where we want to be. That goes for us professionally or even me personally. And if I'm not self-reflecting on what I need to do different or better and align my energy and my time and my actions directly to what I want to try to accomplish or what I want to be better in my life, then I have nobody to blame but myself. Because these outside factors, regardless of how many there are, including right now, they're not going to influence me to what I want to do that's right in front of me every single day, that or actions I can take to make some of those macro pieces of factors better. But anything that happens in my way today or tomorrow or in the immediate future is all going to be reliant upon me. And so that's kind of where I got the idea from. And then through some of our discussions and ideas, I thought it'd be a good thing to share with everyone else in the newsletter.
I always love working on the newsletter. It's one of my favorite things. But this newsletter in particular it just felt very good to work on it. And it really inspired me to do a little bit of staring in the mirror and self-reflecting and make some positive changes and take some actions that I had been, you know, kind of rolling around in my head and sitting on the couch thinking about, but it was very powerful. So thank you. One of the personal stories you shared in it was about your family meeting. So
yeah.
For anyone who didn't get the newsletter and is just tuning in, could you tell us about that family meeting and how that went?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know me here at work, and I think anyone that knows me knows I don't just run around screaming and yelling. It's not my normal general reaction when I'm at work or even when I'm frustrated. And yes, I get frustrated all the time, probably a few times a day. but I make a point not to run around and wear that all over my face and energy. Well, I found myself at home the last probably few weeks, maybe even months, just completely yelling. Like my first instinctual reaction would be to yell at my kids, tell them to quiet down. Then as soon as I start to scream, what I realize is everyone else starts to scream. If they start to scream, then I start to scream. And so of course I could blame them, but they're kids. I have 3 daughters. They're all under 13. And the more I yell, they're going to yell. If I talk quiet while they're yelling, they're going to come down and be quiet. So I realized as a leader of my family or as a parent, my responsibility is to look at myself to fix the problem more than rely on a 9, 11, and 13-year-old daughter of mine. So I said, well, let me lead the way. I said, so I realize if I commit to doing something, I'm going to have a much bigger tendency to do it. Committing in my brain is one thing, committing out loud is another. And selfishly, I've figured I'll lead the charge with my family and hope that they follow. And I'll tell them all, I'm not going to yell anymore. And so we held a family meeting, my wife and I, and we committed to not yelling. And they all did too. We put it into a written letter document and we all signed it. And we talked about the differences when we want to yell, what we're going to do differently instead of yelling, to communicate, etc. For me to double down on that, I felt if I put that in our newsletter and announce it to everybody that's on our newsletter inside our company and outside our company, I'm going to be even more reliant and proven to not do that as well. And I want to make sure it doesn't happen. So I want to make sure that I'm not going to fall down on something I committed to, not only with myself, which is the most important, but also to my family and also to everyone else that we talk to or reads the newsletter or inside our company.
I love that. I love that. So I love that you guys actually wrote out a contract and that you all signed it. I just love that. And I do have to tell anyone who's watching this that when Scott says something out loud, like, I'm not going to do this thing anymore, like he just never does that thing anymore. And it's really frustrating for the rest of us who are a little more human and have to work really hard at that. Scott has like insane mental discipline. So kudos to you.
Thanks, Autumn.
What advice would you give for someone like me who struggles with that kind of thing? Like we've talked before, I'll be very candid. We've talked before about when I get nervous that I will like giggle, and it's like it's a female reaction to feeling nervous about putting out a position of power or a statement of power. You and I have about it a lot. And yet I find myself, I catch it after I've done it and I'm like, oh shoot, I did that again. So what are the tricks that you're using or the exercises that you're going through to change an action before it happens, to stop being reactive and start being proactive about changes?
I think it goes in a couple phases. One, I think you need to be really honest with yourself. And I used to have this phrase, I've always said that at some point in every day, people are honest with themselves. If you're an asshole, you know you were being an asshole. If you were being a jerk to someone, you know you're being a jerk. You could lie all day about it. You could tell 10 people how it wasn't your fault. You could even tell yourself while you're looking in the mirror that it wasn't your fault. But there might be that 20-second period, maybe right before you go to sleep and close your eyes and you're laying in your bed where you're like, you know what, I was an asshole, or I was a jerk, or I shouldn't have done that. And then you go to bed and you forget again and you go back to telling yourself all those other lies. The problem with that is you know when you're lying to yourself. And if you continue to lie to yourself, and more importantly, you accept all those lies, that becomes your norm. And if you're lying to yourself and you're accepting them, it's almost impossible for you to fix that. So that's first. First thing is you got to be really honest with yourself, good, bad, or indifferent. Tell yourself the truth. Just say it raw. Don't try to dress around it. If you catch yourself rationalizing, just stop. The second thing I would tell you is the way you make yourself feel better to do the things you need to do, you need to commit to them. You can commit to yourself, but if you say it out loud, now you're committing what you want to do to everyone else, and it puts a little bit more pressure on you, and maybe it will keep you from breaking that first time, that second time, or that maybe it'll take 4 or 5 times before you break, but you're not going to break right away. And what happens is you start to build momentum. You tell yourself the truth, you accept responsibility, you move forward, you say what you're going to do. As you start making those commitments to yourself, telling yourself the truth and following through it, you start feeling better. Nobody likes to feel bad. So the more you start to feel better, the more you're going to want to feel better. So you start making more promises to yourself and you keep those promises, and all of a sudden you feel awesome. then you continue to do that over and over and over again. You build this momentum up of, I'm going to tell myself the truth. I'm going to be honest with myself. I'm going to fulfill my promises to myself, which makes me feel awesome. Well, now I want to feel more and more awesome. So you start doing that. Then you start doing good things for other people, and that makes you feel good. And now, selfishly, you're doing things for everyone else, and you find out really this is what makes you feel the best. And so doing that is what I think is the most important thing. You need to challenge yourself. You have to do things that are hard. If you do hard things and accomplish them, you feel good. And so that builds, again, momentum in your life, and it builds that mental toughness. I don't think anyone's mentally tough. You're not born that way. I think those are learned skills and traits that you have to commit to. And there's nothing worse than making a commitment to yourself and failing on it. You can then have to go rationalize that by, oh, well, everybody does that. Well, if you want what everyone else has, keep doing it. If you want things that everyone else doesn't have, not material things, happiness or more happiness or certain stuff, then you got to do things that other people aren't willing to do.
Do you have a system of consequences when you do something? Is there a punishment if you yell? Or is it just, I'm not going to do this anymore, so I'm not going to do this anymore?
Yeah. It's good to have punishments. I mean, we did, the repercussions for my daughters, if we're not yelling, means that we're just going to go right to a punishment. There's not going to be 10 warnings. You're just going to quietly hear what your punishment is. For me, if I were to start to yell, no, the short answer is no, I didn't put a punishment on there. But what I do, or I will do, will instantaneously apologize. It won't carry on along. If I raise my voice even the slightest little bit, or I feel it or want to in my mind, I instantly think about someone asking me, like you today, have you yelled yet? And I can say no. And I think as soon as I go to yell or snap, it goes to my head like, I don't want to answer yes to that question, because that means like my word or commitment I made isn't worth anything. So those are the real consequences. But I think the consequences are you feel bad. And I'm used to not lying to myself now, and I don't want to start. So that's a bad feeling, and I never felt good about doing that. But it is good to have that. Maybe it's, I like to work out and exercise. Actually, let me say this again. I like the way I feel when I work out and exercise. I don't actually like to work out and exercise. I like the way I feel when I'm done, and I like the way it makes me feel. So maybe you punish yourself by having to go for an extra run or whatever it is. I would pick something that you absolutely don't want to do and make that commitment to yourself, that if you do yell or if you do lie to yourself or you don't break your commitment, you're normal and you're human, and that may happen. But the consequence is you got to go do something that you don't really want to do. And you'll be surprised. Do that once or twice, you probably won't do it anymore.
Yeah, well, for starters, for everyone watching this video, the next time you talk to Scott, ask him if he yelled today, because that's going to be our new accountability for you.
I haven't done it yet.
I'm going to ask you on Monday, have you yelled yet? But I really appreciate that. I like that advice. So I am going to make a commitment to stop laughing when I say something that I believe is powerful. I'm putting it out there on this video right now. I'm saying it in front of you. I spend an awful lot of time in the office with you, so you are a good person to hold me accountable to that. I'm going to do it because it's bothered me for most of my professional career. So we're talking like at least 10 years. I've been like, oh, I really need to stop doing that. People will take me more seriously if I can just stop laughing.
Good. Well, I'll hold you accountable. Today's the day. Mark it down.
Right. And for everyone watching this, if you happen to see me out somewhere or get the opportunity to talk to me, you can ask me as well. Are you still laughing when you say things? And I will probably laugh when you ask me that, and then I will answer your question. Thank you so much for your time today, Scott. It has been a pleasure as always, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You're welcome. Thank you. Everyone have a great day. Appreciate you taking time.
Take care. Bye, guys.